So to make any of those 8 moves, we have taken path row and path call arrays. If we are moving 2 steps in x direction, then we can move 1 step in y direction. And if we are taking 1 step in x, then we can take 2 steps in y direction. So these are the arrays, and n is the number of choices, which is 8. Now let's create the function night tour. And this is gonna take a matrix, which is the chessboard for us. So this is board, and row index, column index, and the step count. Now we're gonna start moving the knight. So we need a for loop to make the choices. So this will start from 0 and it will go till n, which is 8. Dot length, or we can use n, and here I plus plus. Now let's get the next call where we are going to place the knight. So the new row will be row plus element in this path row array at index I. And same for the column. The new column or the next column will be column plus element at index I in the path call array. So here we are taking, if I is 1, then we are taking 2 steps in x direction and 1 step in y direction. So it will go till 8, which is the end, which will be the last iteration. Now for the current combination of x and y, that is the current combination of row and column, we will validate the move. So this is the function is valid move, and here we are passing board new row new column. If this is a valid move, then we will increment the step count and we will write it on this cell step plus plus, and now we will write this on the cell board new row new column, and here we will write this step. Now let's create this function is valid move. Is valid move. Let's pass the board new row and new column here as well, and the move is valid if the new row and new column are within the board, are present within the board, and the value of that cell is 0. That is, the cell is not already visited. If we are having step count written on that cell, that means the knight has already visited that cell. So we will check for 0. So here first let's check if the row is within the bounds or not. So we will check row is greater than or equal to 0 and it must be less than n. And same we're gonna check for column. So here let's write the same for column. New column must be greater than or equal to 0, and new column must be less than n. And now let's check for the cell value. Here let's write board new row new column. This value must be equal to 0. So if this is true, then we're gonna return this result from this function is valid move. So here let's return it. That's it. Now let's come back to the knight tour function. If the move is valid, then we're incrementing the step count and we're writing it at the current cell as it is a candidate for this. And now we're gonna call knight tour recursively. And here we're going to pass all the parameters. This time we're going to pass new row and new column along with the other parameters. So this will do the task recursively, and if going forward it works out, that is if it keep returning true all the frames above it gets true, and here we get true, then there may be valid path going forward. But otherwise we need to backtrack. We need to again decrement the step, as if the move is valid we're incrementing it, so we need to decrement it, and we need to reset the value of the cell to 0 to say that the cell is now not visited. So new call is 0. So this is the implementation. Now let's return false from here outside this loop, and now let's write the base case. So we have 8 cross 8 matrix or n cross n matrix. So we will be having 64 cells in the board, which is n square, or you can say 8 square. The last step count will be 63, as we are going to start from 0. So when we will reach to 64, it means the knight has already traversed through complete board. So at this point we will return true. So here we will check n square minus 1. If the step is this, then this is the last step, and we will print the result, which is the board, and we will return true right below it. So let's return true from here. So this is the complete implementation. Now let's try and test this. Now let's come here and let's create a board. Let's say const board, and this is a board, and this is a 2D array. So let's fill this array. Let's take for loop for let I is 0 and it goes till n. I is less than n, I plus plus, and now here let's fill each row. So board dot push, and here we'll create a new array and fill it of size n, and we'll fill it with zeros. So that's all for this function, for this program. And now let's save this and call this knight tour with all these parameters. Initially row, column, and step will be 0. And now let's go to terminal to run this program. So here it is. Let's go to terminal, and now let's run this. Let's say node knight2.js. So this is the result that we are getting. It is printing each row in 2 lines. Let's reformat it. Let's use loops to print this board. Here let's remove this console.log and let's use loops. So let's take the first outer for loop, and it will start from 0. Let's say let I is equals to 0, and it's gonna go till n and increment the I. And now let's take a string, empty string, and now the inner loop for j, let j is equals to 0, j is less than n, and j plus plus. And here let's print, let's concat these elements in this string and separate each element by some space. And now after this loop, let's print each row console.log, and here let's print the string. And now let's rerun this program. Go to terminal, and here let's again run this, and now see this is the result. this is the 8 cross 8 board that we're getting, and here these are the steps taken by knight, then 5 here, then 6, and all the way to 63. So this is how the knight covers all the cells.